Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel Cakes by MK. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys what I consider to be the essential tools when it comes to both cake making and cake decorating. So I've been baking ever since I was young, but when I started taking the cake making and cake decorating process a little bit more seriously, then I started using some new tools which I hadn't heard of before that definitely made the whole process a whole lot quicker and easier. So it not only ensured my cakes tasted great, but also looked great too, because both of those elements are really important when it comes to making a cake. So hopefully this video will help those of you who are just getting started with the cake making and cake decorating process. Also, if you're new to my channel, then please click the subscribe button below and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you're updated whenever I upload a new video. But apart from that, stay tuned and I hope you guys enjoy this video. So let's start off with the cake making process, which is all the equipment that I've got on this side of the table. So the first essential tool that I would highly recommend getting your hands on is some kind of mixer. So what I've got here today is my bench mixer or stand mixer. Now these are absolutely amazing to have in the kitchen. It's going to be like your wingman, and once you start using it, you're going to wonder how you ever made cakes without it. Now the reason why these mixers are so helpful is because they literally do most of the work for you. So it makes it so much easier when you can just pop your ingredients into the bowl, turn it on, and then focus on other things in your kitchen and then come back to it when it's done. Especially when you're making things which take a considerable amount of time, like, creaming your butter or making a meringue, which, takes 10 minutes of whipping egg whites. So it definitely helps when you can just pop it into your mixer and leave that on for 10 minutes while you go ahead and do other things. Now these mixers come with heaps of different types of attachments, but the two main attachments that you want when it comes to cake making is this one here. So this is the paddle attachment. Now this attachment is really good when it comes to mixing cake batter. And then the other attachment that you want is the balloon whisk attachment, which looks like this. Now this attachment is really useful when it comes to whipping things up like meringues or creaming your butter, whipping cream, things like that. So it's really helpful as well. Now the only downfall to getting one of these mixers is that they are quite pricey. So, if you're not quite ready to make that initial investment yet, then don't worry, because you can still get the job done with a good old hand mixer as well. Now these are really good as well. It still gets the job done. It just might mean that you're getting a bit more of an arm workout, which is not such a bad thing. So yeah, either one of these mixers will work fine. Now the next really important thing when it comes to making a cake is making sure that you're measuring your ingredients properly. Now I cannot stress this enough, baking a cake is really like science. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but it is true. And so you really want to make sure that you're measuring the right quantities for your ingredients. So two really important tools for that is one, a kitchen scale. Now these are really easy to find and they aren't too expensive, so I would highly recommend getting your hands on one if you can. And then another piece of valuable measuring equipment is just getting some measuring cups and some measuring spoons. So these are really easy to find as well and really valuable as well to have in your kitchen. So whether your recipe is calling for grams or cups or mils, whatever it is, just make sure that you're being consistent when it comes to measuring your ingredients. Now the next essential item that I would recommend getting your hands on is a straight edged cake pan. So whatever cake pans you're using, you want to make sure that the sides of them are nice and straight. So sometimes you can get cake pans which are kind of slightly slanted on the edges, but when it comes to cake decorating, you want to make sure that your cake layers are really nice and straight on the sides. So when it comes to stacking your cake and covering it with icing, it just makes the process a whole lot easier. So yeah, some really good quality cake pans which have straight edges on the side. Now the last essential item that I would recommend when it comes to cake making is a simple spatula. Now you're probably wondering, why a spatula when there's so many other items you could recommend, and that is for two simple reasons. So one, it is a great mixer. So sometimes when you're mixing things in your bench mixer or even in a bowl using a stand mixer, sometimes you're not able to get the corners of the bowl, and so a spatula is really great for mixing all your mixture or batter or whatever it is together, so that you can make sure that it all incorporates evenly. And second reason is because I don't like wasting, and a spatula is really helpful for getting all of the batter out of your bowl when you're transferring it into your cake tins, or even when you're transferring buttercream onto your cake or something like that. Yeah, so a simple spatula. Now let's move on to cake decorating. Now when it comes to cake decorating, the first essential tool that I would highly recommend getting your hands on is a turntable. Now, similar to how I said a bench mixer is like your wingman in the kitchen for cake making, well, a turntable is like your wingman in the kitchen when it comes to cake decorating. Now, turntables are so valuable, and they make the cake decorating process like 10 times easier. And basically what they're really useful for is when you're trimming the tops of your cake layers, when you're scraping the sides of your cake, when you're trying to get smooth buttercream, and also for any kind of extra decorating, like if you're adding drips to your cake, or just anything like that, because it means that you can turn your cake around as opposed to you having to turn your body around the cake. So it just makes it a whole lot easier. Now, the next thing I've got here are cake scrapers. So cake scrapers are really important when it comes to smoothing the sides of your cake. So you can get them in many different sizes and in different materials as well. So this is metal, this one here is plastic, this one is a long cake scraper, this one is a short cake scraper, this one's got a cool kind of handle on the side. So as you can see, you can get them in many different shapes and sizes. But the key thing is just making sure that you get one which has a really nice flat side, which is going to help you get those smooth edges on your cake. Now, next up, what I've got are some cake spatulas. Now, these cake spatulas are really helpful when it comes to also getting nice, smooth buttercream sides on your cakes. And you can get them in many different shapes and sizes, but I would say these two are the ones that I use the most. So this one is a large straight spatula, and this is really helpful when it comes to putting buttercream on the sides of your cake, as well as smoothing out the buttercream in between your cake layers and at the top of your cake. Now, the smaller spatula is really helpful for getting sharp edges on the top of your cake, as well as when you're trying to spread out different fillings in between your cake layers. So you kind of need something a little bit smaller to just get it nicely smoothed out in the middle. So yeah, these two cake spatulas I would highly recommend getting your hands on. Now, what I've got next is a serrated knife. Now, when it comes to making a layer cake, it's really important to make sure that your cake layers are really nice and flat before you start stacking them. But often when you bake cakes, you end up with a little bit of a dome on the top, so those need to be trimmed off. And all you need to do is simply get a serrated knife and trim those tops off, and then you're left with really nice flat cake layers. Now, another thing that I would highly recommend getting your hands on is some kind of cake board or cake card. You could even use something flat that you've got at home to decorate your cakes on. And the reason why that's really important is because when you're cake decorating, you're often moving your cake in and out of the fridge. And so if you're putting it on something which is easy to handle and isn't too bulky, it just makes the transporting process a lot easier. Now, the last few items which I would recommend for cake decorating is a piping bag and some piping tips. Now, when it comes to piping tips, there are so many different types of piping tips that you can get, but I would recommend these two as the most versatile. So if you had only the choice of getting 2 piping tips in the whole world, then I would recommend getting these two. Now, the first one here is a large round tip nozzle, and the reason why I would recommend this one is because, one, you can use it for cake decorating in terms of piping designs on the tops of your cakes, but also it helps when you need to pipe buttercream around the edges of your cake. So especially when it comes to, doing striped buttercream or things like that, where you need to pipe the buttercream on, then this is really helpful. And then next is any kind of star tip nozzle. So the reason why I would recommend a star tip nozzle is because when it comes to piping decorations on top or around your cake, again, these are really versatile, and with a few different techniques you can pipe different types of decorations. So yeah, it's pretty cool to have on hand as well. And then when it comes to the piping bags are really useful when it comes to using your nozzle. So you pop them in, cut a hole on the bottom, put your buttercream in, and then you can pipe out some really beautiful designs. So definitely get some piping bags. And that is pretty much it. So I hope this video helps you guys in kickstarting your cake making and cake decorating journey. I will have links to all these products in the description box below, so you guys can go ahead and find them on Amazon. But apart from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this, and thanks again for watching Cakes by MK.